Why are you on semen retention? Really think about this and answer it with full, complete honesty and transparency. Why are you on semen retention? You're not on semen retention because you just intrinsically want to retain your seed. As a matter of fact, it is the exact opposite. Biologically, you are looking for any and every excuse to not retain your seed. So why are you choosing to forego instant gratification and the highest form of pleasure that any man can ever hope to experience? The reason why is because there is something on the other side of this practice that you are hoping to attain. It might be financial success, it might be success with women, it might be spiritual fulfillment, it might be a combination of all of those three or something in between or beyond. The point is, you're not on semen retention just to do semen retention. You're on semen retention because you see it as a very viable vehicle to get you to your desired destination. And I'm here to tell you that you're not misguided in believing that. However, you need to understand that you are sabotaging your progress, your potential progress toward that destination. You are poking holes in the tire of this vehicle with every time you decide to get on social media. Now, why is social media so impactful in a negative way, especially on your semen retention journey? Well, for starters, social media is a gateway drug. What do I mean by that? When you hear about gateway drugs, oftentimes you hear about marijuana. Marijuana is the prototypical gateway drug that leads you down a rabbit hole of maybe taking psychedelics, which are still relatively harmless but can lead to much more drastic consequences. And then that can lead you to doing things like cocaine, heroin, crack, etc. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen people go down the rabbit hole. It all starts with that initial harmless decision to indulge in the gateway drug. And in this case, social media is the gateway drug. And the reason why is because social media creates and initiates chains of thought. Now, when I say chains of thought, what do I mean? Well, I want you to think about it like this. Okay, anytime you've ever relapsed on PMO or no PMO, you didn't just wake up wanting to relapse. It started with an initial thought that generated momentum, usually backed by emotion to generate the momentum even faster. And eventually it generated so much momentum that it had to manifest in your physical reality. In other words, you had to act it out. And social media is oftentimes that entry point for most people, especially people who are struggling with pornography addiction or people who are struggling with sex addiction, PMO addiction overall. Social media is a gateway drug because it establishes and initiates that initial momentum that leads you to relapsing. You see, there's always a point of no return. That point of no return, depending on your level of awareness and presence and discipline, will be closer to your actual relapse or closer to that initial point of entry. And if you're struggling with PMO addiction, the chances are you're not a very disciplined person just yet. You will be, but you're not a disciplined person just yet, which means that it's not too long after you see that girl on your feed that your relapse pretty much becomes inevitable because the thoughts have generated so much momentum that you have absolutely no shot of resisting them. You have no shot. And what you have to understand is that on social media, you can try to filter out what type of content you see, but the reality is that temptation sells. It always has sold and it always will sell because, again, it is embedded in your biological nature to want to reproduce and really release in general because, again, it's the highest form of pleasure you can ever experience. People have identified this and they're exploiting this desire within you. And like I said, you can try to filter out the type of content that you're seeing, but ultimately, all it takes is for you to go to that one girl's profile and then your feed is completely and utterly corrupted. Your feed is corrupted, and from there on in, that chain of thought leads you to your point of no return, where your relapse becomes inevitable. So how do you go about breaking that chain of thought? Well, it's simple. You break it off at the entry point. You stop getting on social media so that you're not exposed to that degree of temptation, especially that degree of accessibility to temptation. And you'll make your journey exponentially easier. And when I say your journey, I'm not just talking about your semen retention journey, I'm also talking about your life as a whole. Why is that? Well, the reason why is because social media is a distraction. I need you to listen very, very closely because this is going to change your life. Sexual transmutation is about productivity. Plain and simple, sexual transmutation is about you taking your innate desire to release your seed and instead using that life force energy to bring ideas to life. You're bringing ideas to life. It might be the idea of a better body. It might be the idea of a fulfilling relationship. It might be the idea of a successful business or maybe a high-end corporate job, whatever it is that you want out of this life. It's all about the idea turning into a reality via your life force energy. You're bringing the idea to life. But what you have to understand is that when you distract yourself with social media, you are essentially turning your determination into despair. What do I mean by that? Well, you have all of this energy flowing through you. That is the source of your desires. But what you have to understand is that that energy is not going to stop flowing. You can't stop the flow of energy. All you can do is redirect it. And so when you get on social media, especially every single day, every single hour of every day, habitually, and you spend hours at a time scrolling through your feed, which, by the way, just a little side note, I want you to comment down below and tell me the last 3 things that you recall seeing on social media earlier today. You probably can't remember 3 things. You wasted that time and you will never get it back. But I'm here to save you the time that I can't get back. Because however much time you wasted, I've probably wasted more. But that's besides the point. You're essentially wasting all of that extra energy on social media, on something that is unproductive. So you are basically turning your semen retention journey into a waste. You're wasting the energy. At that point, you might as well not do semen retention. What's the point? What's the point of surrendering that level of pleasure for pretty much no return? It doesn't make sense. If there was no reason to do semen retention, I would not be sitting here talking to this camera telling you why it's beneficial. Believe me, I would not be making this video. But the truth is, it is beneficial if and only if you take the energy and you transmute it in a productive way. And social media, unless you are posting, is not productive. Scrolling through your feed is not productive. It makes you feel like you're productive, especially when you're consuming content that makes you feel good about the decisions that you're making, that makes you feel like you're getting things done, even though you're actually not getting anything done. But you're not getting anything done, okay? You're not actually seeing any tangible benefit from social media. So listen, if you're not going to delete social media, at the very least, create more than you consume. Create more than you consume. But the chances are, you probably don't want to do that. You probably don't want to do that, especially if you're a low-key person who likes a low-key life. You're not going to want to be the person who is constantly documenting their lives, broadcasting their lives for thousands or even millions of people to see. Believe me when I tell you that that can be very, very stressful. Very, very stressful. You might not want that. You probably don't want that. So eliminate social media altogether. Just delete it. Okay? Because social media, just like pornography, desensitizes your dopamine receptors. That's another reason why you need to delete it. It desensitizes your dopamine receptors. Okay? Quitting pornography and scrolling through social media is like saying that you're going to go on a diet, cutting out pizza, but continuing to eat hamburgers from McDonald's. You might as well just keep eating the pizza. Either keep eating the pizza and the burgers or don't eat either one, but don't do things halfway. Because all you're going to do is you're going to take that social media addiction and you're going to use that to fill in the gap, the void that is left by you no longer succumbing to the desire to indulge in PMO. So in other words, you need to remove both because they are both desensitizing your dopamine receptors by giving you too much stimulation. Granted, pornography usually gives you more stimulation in a shorter amount of time and a more intense form of stimulation, but social media gives you just as much stimulation, albeit over a longer period of time, which, in my opinion, could actually make it even more dangerous because you think that it's not leaving a lasting negative impact when in all actuality, the impact is creeping up on you. It's growing gradually, and by the time you recognize it, it's already too late. And whenever you overstimulate your mind, especially for an extended period of time, what ends up happening is you make your life less enjoyable because, again, your dopamine receptors, which are responsible for processing the feeling of pleasure and joy and fulfillment in life, it doesn't perceive joy in the simple things in life because you've raised the bar so high that life itself can never meet that standard. As a result, your life feels a lot worse. You use PMO to escape, and then you get caught in the cycle because your PMO addiction raises the bar even higher, which makes it even harder to attain, which makes your life even worse. That is the cycle that you are currently stuck in if you're watching this video. And if you're ready to escape that cycle, then I have a solution for you. Click the link in the description and get the free PMO Relapse Recovery Guide. Free. Okay, it is free $99, no shipping and handling, no hidden costs, literally free of cost. Click the link in the description to get the free PMO Relapse Recovery Guide to leave your lust in the dust in just 15 minutes. Click the link in the description, get that ebook before I come to my senses and start charging the money that it's actually worth.